Oh, I think the lemon tea is pretty
Yeah.
good.
Is that
I mean,
banana?
I'm a fan of Nutella. So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Nutella, banana,
Perfect.
yeah, with all the sugar.
Hey, Mayor, we're ready for you.
All right, I'm on my way.
That was the mayor.
Yeah, no kidding. I like the scooter.
Councilor Mitchell, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I know it's a little bit cold. Let's talk a little bit about Open Air Beaverton. When we were talking about this on council, I know that you wanted to make the program permanent even after the pandemic, and you also wanted us to be able to help business owners pay for it. Tell me a little bit about why Open Air Beaverton is so important to our community.
Yeah, that is a really great question because it was in a time when people had to be very innovative. And I think that the Open Air Beaverton program really was able to provide fluidity to space when it was needed the most because space was reduced due to the mandates, which meant revenues were reduced as well. And so for us to be able to come together and provide more space by helping amend the community development codes so that businesses could expand onto the public right-of-ways, into private parking spaces, really gave them the opportunity to make up any missed income. And it was an absolute necessity, and I'm glad we got it done.
So we're standing in downtown. We've seen a lot of success. Beaverton is the place to be. We have businesses moving here and thriving here. What do you think makes our downtown so special?
I think it's the fact that we've all come together and worked so hard to try and make this a destination.
And we want to have neighborhoods, right, where you could go and eat and go to restaurants in the same place. And Beaverton is providing that ability to live, work, and play. Well, we are standing in Restaurant Row, and our city has done a lot of investing in our restaurants, and we've done a lot of work around getting people down here. But what is your favorite non-restaurant in downtown Beaverton?
Yeah, my favorite non-restaurant would have to be the Beaverton Florist. I mean, it's really fun to go there because usually when I am going there, it's because I'm picking up a meaningful gift. And so that's something that I really love to do. I know how important auxiliary businesses are. It's not just all about restaurants. It's about other businesses that drive business. So I'm glad that we have stuff like that here.
But fire question, what is your favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant, is Ex Novo. I absolutely love the food there and the drinks as well.
All right, go get a beer. Meet us there after this.
Yeah.
Councilor Mitchell, I know you've recently told the community that you're not seeking re-election so you could focus on your family and your career. I want to thank you for the years that you've served our community, and I want to give you an opportunity to tell the community what this time has meant to you.
Yeah, this time has meant so much to me, and I just really want to say thank you. Thank you for trusting in me and making this an amazing experience and giving me the ability to give back in a very amazing way. So thank you.
And these guys, I don't know if you come here often, but they're amazing.
My first 5 years.
Yeah, and Ben is the owner, and during the pandemic, when the school shut down, they started immediately making lunches for kids that only got their only meal at school. And they just have the best altruistic heart and just love the community. And
Hey Lacey, how's it going?
hey Ben, how are you?
I'm doing well, Lacey. How are you?
Good, look at all these people in here.
Beautiful thing, a nice sunshiny day, the Saturday market. We love it.
It's awesome. I want my favorite drink. I want an iced latte with 2% milk with a little bit of cinnamon on top.
Yeah, and you like that on ice, right?
Yes, I do.
Awesome, very nice.
Thanks,
We'll get that right up for you.
All right. Councilor Tivnon, thank you for joining us today right here in our community center that's currently being used as a severe weather shelter. Like you, I've been getting a lot of emails and commentary from our community around issues around homelessness. What are some of the main concerns that you're hearing from our community?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And before I answer it, I just wanted to mention a very big thank you to everybody who's taken time to email us, call us, and provide visitor comments during our city council meetings. We hear you. And please continue to share your thoughts and experiences around this very complicated subject. Primarily what I am hearing is that people are experiencing some of the more visible and concerning issues related to unsheltered adults within the downtown area who have nowhere else to go.
As we mentioned, building a permanent shelter is a part of the solution, and I would be remiss if we didn't thank our state delegation that helped bring the money together. Representative Campos, Representative Dexter, Representative Scouten, our two favorite senators, Senator Lieber and Senator Steiner Hayward. Thank you for believing in our community. Another thing the city is doing is safe parking. So can you tell us a little bit about the safe parking program?
Yeah, I think this is actually proof positive that feedback from the community really does inform the work we do. Safe parking dates back to 2019 when it was started as a pilot project to see if it worked. This was to help people that were living in their cars have safe locations to sleep at night that also had bathroom facilities, garbage, and storage for their possessions. They are safe locations that have case managers that visit them to provide resources to individuals that at the moment their car is their home. We also notice that a lot of people that take advantage of the safe parking are seniors. And this is an opportunity for us to get to know these people on a first name basis and provide them with a safe place instead of just rolling the dice every night.
I think it's important we talk about programs like this because it really restores dignity and it really gives people a place where they can feel safe. So sometimes our houseless community doesn't always look like what people think it looks like. Mm-hmm. And through safe parking, we've helped 37 individuals into permanent housing, and that's really remarkable.
And it's only one of the programs that we've instituted here in Beaverton in the last couple of years.
We cut the ribbon on the Mary Ann right here in downtown Beaverton, and it's one of our newest affordable housing complexes. What do you think about it as a cool project that's right here in our downtown core?
I think that it's a beautiful symbol of the city's efforts to create more housing supply within the downtown for people of all income levels.
And what I think is really important about that is they're family-size units with more than 2 bedrooms. And that was important to us because it's close to Beaverton High School. Like I mentioned, we're here in the severe weather shelter, and it's soon going to be an affordable senior housing development located right here in our central core. How do you think it's going to change the neighborhood?
Oh, I think it's going to have all sorts of wonderful impacts on the neighborhood. We've been hearing that seniors in our community are struggling to pay for housing. This is going to be deeply affordable housing that is dedicated to seniors. It's across the street from the library, it's right next to the Beaverton Farmers Market, and it's just blocks away from the LC Stir Center. This is going to be an amazing addition to the downtown.
Because we want people to be able to age in place gracefully in here in our community, and this is just part of our continuum of housing. All right, Councilor Sansucci, here we are. The voters approved a new charter in 2020, and it took place in 2021 when I was sworn in, but there still seems to be some confusion around what it is. Can you give us some high-level talking points on what the new charter is?
Well, let me start with the smaller things and then get to the big one. The first thing is the charter institutes a 12-year term limit for elected people in the city. Which I think is a very sensible limit. I'm at 14 years, and believe me, I think 12 is the right number. The other thing is we expanded the city council to create more opportunity for more people to serve in this really important role for the city. In doing so, we gave the mayor a vote on the city council, which wasn't the case before. And that then leads to the next important part, which is that we changed from the strong mayor form of government, of which Beaverton was the only example in the state of Oregon, to a council manager form of government, which every other city in Oregon except Portland has. And in that form of government, we have a professional city manager who's responsible for managing the staff, the programs, the finances, and the assets of the city. And we have a full-time mayor, who, by the way, votes at the council, who gets to be the ambassador to the community. And that difference, I think, is something that's going to take a little while for everybody to understand. You know, when do they contact the mayor? When do they contact the city manager? But now we have a really great public leader, and we have a really great professional leader.
I think we have two. You know, I'll tell you from my perspective a little bit of what I think the mayor does, and I'll let you chime in as well. You know, with this professional city manager managing the building, we still need the person to cut ribbons. And we need them to be out there working with other government officials to move our legislation forward. And we need a team captain. Getting 7 people into a room and moving one direction is no easy task. And so in our new form of government, we've made the mayor full-time, and we empowered a city council president, and together they're the council leadership team. You have anything else to add on that?
Well, I was trying to come up with the right word to describe the role of the mayor in a council manager form of government, particularly in an instance like this, where the mayor is a full-time position. Most mayors in Oregon are not full-time mayors, and we decided to do this deliberately so that we would have somebody who had the liberty and the authority to go out into the broader community and represent Beaverton, both to bring things back to Beaverton as well as to export some of our great ideas and great notions to other places. So the word I came up with is ambassador. Our mayor is an ambassador to the world at large, and as such can deliver messages and can bring back good things. And in the case of Mayor Beaty, we've brought back a lot of money from the state legislature and from the federal government. And that's something that is very difficult to do when you have a part-time mayor who's working another job. So I feel really strongly that we've made a really good choice in both dividing the responsibilities between the mayor and the city manager, and also making sure the mayor has both the time and the resources to be that excellent ambassador for the city of Beaverton.
I like that term, ambassador. I think I need new business cards. Let's talk about the council now. Give us some high-level points on how our council operates in this new form of government.
So I see the role of the city council as to be that voice of the community, taking the best of their notions, distilling them into things that we can actually do, and then helping the city accomplish them.
Councilor Sansucci, thank you for the years of service you've done to make our community resilient, financially ready for the future, and ready to welcome new city officials into the fold. Thank you for the job you've done mentoring all of us, and our city is a much better place because you decided to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your work, Mayor Beaty, and I appreciate the residents of Beaverton. Thank you for supporting me through my years on the council. I look forward to watching how things go in the future.
Councilor Hassan, thank you so much for joining me today to talk a little bit about our community's investments that we're spending this year. When you ran for office, you talked about the need to focus equity in all of the work that we're doing. Thinking about it through that lens, how is the city doing?
Well, the good news is Beaverton continues to be at the forefront of equity work. We are constantly innovating and making sure that we are doing more for our community. I get super excited to think about how we can continue to improve upon that and just do more for our friends.
You know, I'm really excited to be talking about this, particularly when we're talking about ARPA funding. The city worked really hard to secure an additional $13 million on top of our $17 million to do some pretty innovative and creative things here in the city. What do you want the community to know about how we're spending that money?
I think it's a really good question. First of all, we're making sure we're prioritizing housing through looking at how we can help affordable housing as well as our houseless friends. In addition to that, we're investing in our businesses, which we know are the lifeline of Beaverton. And more importantly, which I'm really excited about, is we've had this convening of folks around childcare and what we can do as moms here in elected office. We know how much childcare matters to our communities.
When we're talking about generational wealth, it's a really important topic because we can't talk about just getting people into housing. We need to talk about the whole spectrum. Why is this topic important to you?
Generational wealth is absolutely necessary to ensure upward mobility for our communities. The investments now will be huge incremental investments for our children and our children's children.
And I know I'm really excited about what 2022 is going to look like. What are you excited about, and what should our community have to look forward to?
I'm really excited about warm hugs.
I'm not so much excited about that, but you can always find Councilor Hassan for a hug.
I will give you a hug. It's going to be very exciting to be with one another and to hear from each other and to make sure that we are taking care of one another as we eventually start to gather in person.
Beaverton, this is the year that we thrive. Councilor Hartmeyer-Prigg, thank you so much for joining me today on this rad balcony at Arc Central that has an amazing view of downtown. I know that you grew up on 12th and Lombard. Tell me a little bit about how Beaverton's changed since you've been here.
Yeah, so growing up in the heart of Beaverton, we really didn't have a distinguishable downtown. And so it's been really special to see Beaverton grow up when I grew up. And now we have such a special downtown for us all to enjoy.
As we're talking about our downtown, and it is really transformed. We have Restaurant Row that's popped up. We've attracted some regional brands like Sizzle Pie and Salt and Straw, as well as some old school Beaverton favorites like Naquan and DeCarli's. I mean, I know you're a vegan, so maybe you haven't tried everything, but tell us a little bit about your favorite restaurant in downtown.
I have to say, most of the places you mentioned have really great vegan options. I have a few favorites though. Bistro Royale is definitely one of my favorites for dinner. Karina's for a snack, and for something really special, Clockwork Rose Tea is like such an amazing vegan destination.
That's awesome. You get the salad there that you have to mix with your hand.
Oh yeah, Bistro Royale, that little hands-on salad, it's delicious.
So we're standing right in front of a parking garage that's popped up here in Central Beaverton. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Our new parking garage just recently opened up, and it's really important to make sure that we can support this new vibrant downtown and create a space for everyone to come and access the new Reeser. We also are right next to the Mac Stop, so our friends from the east and the west can come in and enjoy these amenities too.
So we've talked about the parking garage, but let's talk about Beaverton's next coolest thing, our fountain. It's finally open. Tell me about what's your favorite part of it?
Well, it's pretty amazing to me that our new fountain has lights and sound, and it can be a place for shows. How amazing is that? But the best part about that fountain to me is that it's a place for everyone in Beaverton. It's free for everyone. It's in the heart of our city. It's at the city park. And that's the best part about it for me, is that we've invested in something for everyone in our community to have access to.
That's super rad. We've talked a lot about downtown and all this development going on, and it sure looks different from when you were a kid. How is the city going to manage displacement?
Yeah. It's a really important question to me, Mayor. You know, growing up as someone who was pretty low income and knowing that it's kind of a miracle that I can still live in Beaverton, I really feel for all of our residents who are feeling that change and feeling like they can't live in Beaverton anymore because of the costs. So it's really important to us on City Council that as we're looking at growth and change, we're intentional about how we do that. So the downtown equity strategy is a really important tool that we are using to make sure that we listen to our neighbors, we talk to everyone who's in the affected areas when Beaverton is looking to grow and change. We make sure we minimize that impact so we can embrace this rich diversity that currently resides in our community.
Well, thanks for joining me today. I got to bounce. I got to go give my big speech now.
Thanks for having me. Break a leg.
Thank you for joining me at the Reeser, our brand new, amazing performing arts center. I don't know if you know, but Beaverton is the place to be. We've been trying to keep it quiet for some time, but the cat's out of the bag. You know, when I reached out to our community earlier this year to ask about stories around resiliency, we got a great response. I heard from Mario Design, who brought his employees together in the middle of the pandemic to do things like blood drives and food drives and clean up in the park and clean up neighborhoods. I heard from True Life Pantry, who was serving food before the pandemic, but expanded their resources to meet the needs that were happening. I heard from a young person who was so excited when the library opened and she could pick out a book in person and meet her favorite librarian. I heard from an elderly gentleman who told me about his neighbor who came and shoveled his driveway during the snowstorm, even without being asked. Man, 2020 was a lot. 2021 was even harder. It would be really easy as the mayor to just tell you about the good things we were doing, but that's not the whole story. We have a lot of Brunos to talk about today. We can't talk about 2021 without talking about COVID-19. When we started the year off, kids were still in distance learning. We didn't even know if they would get back into the classroom. The vaccine had just started rolling out, but there was so much confusion around who could get them, when they were eligible to receive them, and most importantly, where. We knew that we needed a mass vaccine site here in Washington County, so we brought together leaders, government leaders, business leaders, and we asked a simple question: can we do it here? And we did. We brought together the largest public-private vaccine clinic at Nike's world headquarters. and we delivered over 50,000 life-saving doses there. Nike hosted the site, Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue are the ones that administered them, and our emergency response team, our volunteer CERT team from Beaverton and Tigard, coordinated the entire event from start to finish. It was a true testament of what our community could do when we came together. But we didn't stop there. We hosted vaccine clinics for affinity groups, we amplified messaging, and we pointed our community in the direction they needed to go. And now, vaccines are widely available in our community, except for kids under 5. As a mom of a 4-year-old, I'm still worried about her and her safety, and I've made every decision in the last 2 years about her safety and keeping her safe. We still have work to do. COVID is here, but we understand so much more about how it's spread and how to keep ourselves safe. And we've done a lot of demonstrating around being flexible and agile in getting things done. It's a good thing that during COVID, we learned to be collaborative and flexible and come together to solve problems, because you know, and I know, we're in the middle of a climate crisis. 2021 was chaotic. We started with an ice storm that hit the region, a snowstorm. We had an historic heat dome that came down on top of us in the middle of a fire season. And I got some bad news. It's not getting better. It's actually getting a lot worse. And so the city's taking some meaningful first steps. We created a climate action task force, and they're coming together to learn how to have a meaningful voice and impact into things that we're doing, like designing our buildings and what that looks like. We're doing 100% of our electricity is being sourced from clean energy. We're starting our forward thinking around how to electrify our own fleet and how to make sure that we have charging stations available for those that want to opt into owning an electric vehicle. This is going to take a lot of work and planning, and we're ready to start doing that work. There's a lot we can do as a city, but we could do so much more if we partner with policymakers. This year, we worked with legislators in Salem on the REACH Code bill. And that bill would give cities the ability to control how they construct buildings to meet our climate goals. And that's really important because the second leading cause of emissions is buildings. You know, we also had an historic heat dome this year. And I was so proud of our staff to get the county's first overnight cooling shelter opened, because 20 years ago, you could survive without air conditioning in Portland. That's not the case anymore. And I was proud to work with Senator Jama and Representative Marsh on a bill that gives everyone the right to cool air, just like you have the right to heating. We also partnered with them on a bill to be able to purchase air conditioning units for those most affected by the heat. We're proud of the work we did in Salem this year. Now I want to talk about a topic that's on everyone's mind: housing. We added a variety of new market rate apartments, but those happen on their own without a lot of city investment. And I'm sure you've noticed some infill happening around the city where vacant or underutilized lots get transformed into other types of housing. In case you haven't driven down Shoals Ferry all the way to Tile Flat Road, go take that drive. What's happening out there is pretty awesome. South Cooper Mountain is part of the large Cooper Mountain planning area. And that's a multi-year effort to plan over 1,000 acres that were recently added to the urban growth boundary. In case you don't know what the urban growth boundary is, basically it prevents the kind of sprawl you see in other parts of the country. When it's all said and done, those acres of land in South Cooper Mountain will become neighborhoods, parks, trails, and open spaces for nearly 4,000 households. We know that affordable housing is needed in Beaverton, and we put over $2 million of our ARPA money into affordable housing programs here in Beaverton. We're also accessing other programs so we can have a multiplying effect as we build affordable housing. One of those is the Metro Affordable Housing Bond, which was approved by voters, which gave us a unique opportunity to build buildings really fast. We have one in El Monica, 2 in downtown Beaverton, and one of those is going to be specifically for seniors. The one that I'm most proud about is the one that we're building in South Cooper Mountain. It's not always a given when we build communities that affordable housing is going to be there. But this city council has made it a priority that everyone feels welcome in our community. And I'm super pumped for the housing that's going in South Cooper Mountain. While the kind of things that we're doing in South Cooper Mountain are creative, and I'm thankful for our staff who constantly push us to think bigger and broader, but I have another Bruno to talk about. The affordable housing crisis is not a one-size-fits-all solution. And while we're building a lot of apartments, we also need to think about home ownership. We know that is how generational wealth is created. The city is kind of unique. We've invested in a community land trust model so people have the ability and option to buy homes for the first time. We also are investing our own ARPA money into a program called Welcome Home Beaverton, which gives income-qualified individuals the ability to apply for up to $25,000 for down payment assistance. We know that creating generational wealth is the only way our community is going to build out of this housing crisis. I want to talk about something else that I know is on top of mind for a lot of our community: public safety. We have asked our police department to do a lot of things, and they have always said yes. But I think this is a time for us to step back and re-examine the scope of work we've been asking them to do. And we're going to do so in a couple ways. We're in the early stages of what a police oversight committee might look like that can serve as an unbiased examiner of the police department. We've pledged to work with our Human Rights Advisory Commission on recommendations they've brought forward. But look, public safety, it's a community conversation that we need everyone at the table at, including our police department. So this is the year we're going to bring everyone together to start that important conversation. We couldn't have a State of the City address without thanking our amazing staff. Honestly, they kept our city going under really hard circumstances. They did amazing work this year, and I could talk all day about the work that they have done. But I want to tell you about a couple things. Our library staff, they were super creative. They created opportunities for grab-and-go services so community members could come in and get materials and take them home, even when the library was closed. The night market, it came back in person. Our Vision Advisory Committee is creating a new survey that's out right now that's going to talk about our community over the next 5, 10, 20 years. So make sure you take that survey. And our Public Works, probably the most thankless job, literally kept our city operating this year. Thank you, Public Works, for the work you've done. Our courts resumed in-person operations again, which is really important when we're talking about access to justice. Not everyone has computers at home, and our ability to provide in-person services is really important. I want to thank our staff for doing that work. The other really big thing they did this year was implement our new behavioral health court. Because sometimes when people enter our criminal justice system, that's not what they need. They actually need mental health services. We have a dedicated group of staff, police officers, that identify people in the system that actually need social services. And while the program is new, and even during a global pandemic, we know that the system is starting to work. I want to give a thank you to our police officers, our court staff, and everyone involved making this program successful in our first year. As I end my first year in office, I have been so impressed by Beaverton's ability to survive. We have come together to solve really big issues this year. But I want to be honest, I'm done just surviving. I want us to thrive. But in order for us to do that, we have to talk about some structural issues that the pandemic has brought to the surface. We have work to do in after-school care, childcare, infrastructure, broadband services, and we have a growing houseless population that needs our attention. I ended last year's State of the City by saying, let's get to work. And we did that. Beaverton, you are the place to be. We are growing in really equitable ways. But it's time for us to just stop surviving. This is the year, Beaverton, that we thrive.